She says to him, "You're distant, you're cold, you're not emotionally available. I can't feel you. You're too busy with work. I don't feel seen or appreciated in this relationship." And he says, "You're too sensitive, you're too needy. Why don't you appreciate all my hard work? Why can't you accept me the way I am?" And he feels like there's too much pressure in this relationship, which makes him want to run away and secure his independence, get away from the suffocation of what feels like a prison of too much dependence on one another, which makes her feel like, oh my God, my worst fears are being confirmed. I'm being abandoned. And so she chases him initially. She puts in more effort, more calls, more texts. Depending on how wounded she is, she might even start begging, which makes him feel a mixture of guilty and perhaps even a little disgusted in her level of dependence, and it makes him pull away further. And this happens in various different forms. This is the anxious-avoidant trap. The avoidant person can be a woman, but it's more typically a man. And an avoidant attachment style means that you identify a lot with your strong sense of self, independence, work ethic, your intellect, your knowledge, and you deep down want deep intimacy. It's there, it's a yearning for closeness. But when it comes to you, what happens is you end up settling for some form of attachment, but anything that's truly close, your childhood trauma gets activated where you actually see it as a threat, which is why you perceive your partner's desires for closeness, and when they say you're emotionally unavailable, which is probably correct, it feels like a criticism because it pokes at a deep wound inside of you that you aren't even aware is there. And until you heal that wound, you'll be in this cycle of intense passion with closeness with your partner, followed by intense withdrawals where you feel like, whoa, this person clearly isn't the one. I'm in the wrong relationship. And you start fantasizing about an ex, or you start fantasizing about having sex with other people, or you start fantasizing about who else is out there that would be a better fit for me than this person. And these mental strategies are all responses to your inner trauma in a clever way to keep you away from true intimacy, true emotional availability, to keep you away from the joy of deep connection, from uninhibited emotional expression, relaxed flowing of emotions. Because when you were a child, for some reason, that part of you was surgically removed from you. Either because you were in a family where maybe it was a good family, there was no acute shouting or yelling, so you think you have no trauma, but it was the culture in your household not to express emotions. So that part of you that craved as a little boy or girl to be emotionally free, as all children are, when you got the message from your family that actually this doesn't happen here, and you're being trained to be a little independent, self-sufficient robot, you know what happens inside of you? There's a sense of terror, a sense of deep fear that unfolds with connecting with your emotions. You associate the terror of losing your family with being honest about your emotions. And so to cope with the terror of being abandoned or rejected by your first caregivers in life, which is your family, your parents, your body has developed an automated trauma response where when you're close with anyone in a romantic relationship, man or woman, it bubbles up and says, whoa, 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 we're getting to that closeness stage, what we were not allowed to have as a child. And in sheer panic, it says, pull away, or the old emotions of resentment and rage that you actually felt towards your family for disallowing you to be your natural self, you'll project those onto your partner and wrongly assume that your partner is the cause of the rage and withdrawal feelings inside of you. So for the avoidantly attached person, it's like torture because deep down you crave romance and love, but something in you just shuts it out. The anxiously attached person, which is usually the woman, reacts in the total opposite way, where the avoidant person pulls away to feel safe and to calm their trauma response. The anxiously attached person wants to move closer to the person to feel safer and to try to get relief from their trauma response, which feeds into the trauma response of the avoidant person who now says, whoa, they're trying to take my freedom away. Whoa, they're trying to push me into that dangerous zone of closeness where terrible things will happen. So the avoidant person starts seeing the anxious person as an enemy in that moment. And this is a terrible tragedy for both because it's the deepest misunderstanding. You both love each other, you both want love, but you have to transcend your trauma responses. Otherwise, you're forever trapped in this cycle of triggering each other, coming close, I love you, mwah, 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 and then I hate you, we're pulling apart, this will never work, this is just the wrong fit. The anxiously attached person as a child suffered similar traumas and wounds to the avoidant person, where they felt neglected. Maybe they were abused, sexually abused, yelled at a lot, or just not given much attention physically and verbally. So unlike the avoidant, as a child, instead of repressing their needs for closeness, they actually amplified, exaggerated, and triple-folded it, quadrupled it, and said, okay, if you're not going to give it me, I'm going to get out there and take it. Which take can actually come in the form of showering people with love, showering them with understanding and support, being hyper-vigilant as to the emotional state of your partner, your family, your children, in an attempt to feel safe in your body. But what that actually does is it makes your trauma worse. In this video, I don't want to go too deep into the roots of how it's caused because there's plenty of literature and videos online for that. I want to talk about actively breaking this cycle and ending the trauma responses. And for this to work, both partners need a deep understanding of themselves and of their partner. It's a mutual effort. And let me tell you, if you are listening to this and you really want this with your full heart, you really want to unlock more love and safety in your body, and you really want to unlock more genuine intimacy in your relationship, it'll be one of the hardest things you've ever done. But boy, will it be rewarding if you do the work. The solution for both essentially comes down to doing the exact things that make you most uncomfortable. So for the avoidant person, leaning more into dependence, playfulness, and emotional expression. And for the anxious person, leaning more into independence, taking a step back, minding your own business a little bit, and learning to feel safe in your body and putting less pressure on the other. So whereas one usually comes in fast to the other and the other runs away, you're now doing the opposite. So the avoidant is moving a bit more in and the anxious is learning to regulate themselves a bit more. And I'll take this in order, starting with the avoidant person. So the avoidant person tends to be very proud of their self-sufficiency, very proud of the fact that they don't break down and cry much, very proud of the fact that they've done so much by themselves and that they're strong and tough and independent. These are good qualities for sure, but a lot of this is just armor that you've placed on yourself to protect yourself from ever feeling denied of your humanity again. Because as I said, as a child, you were denied of one of your most fundamental human needs, which is the need for vulnerable connection with your family. To cry with them, to laugh with them, to hug them, to smile with them, to play with them, to dance with them. When you're ridiculed for such things and just encouraged to perform and achieve, oh my God, The pain is catastrophic of having to cut out one of the most beautiful parts of yourself. And that's why you're so rigid and serious now, see? So then your practice comes to step back from the things that are so familiar to you, the hustle, the grind, and step more into the things that may make you cringe. Maybe you feel a bit icky or disgusted towards independence and crying and emotions. I want you to take time every day to consciously practice expressing your emotions more to your partner, even if you feel shut down or a bit withdrawn or a bit like running away, to just express in a loving way, in an honest way. That's one thing. Another is to take attention off yourself and put it more on your partner. So what your partner is usually doing to you, I want you to place more loving attention on them. Just at least 3 times a day, at least check in with them, whether it's by text, call, or looking at them when you're around them. Hey baby, how are you? And not just robotically, really feel into their energy. Take a genuine interest in how is this person feeling right now, and can I uplift how they're feeling? Another thing is, instead of being a pure self-regulator, you're very good at calming yourself down, making yourself feel good, work out, whatever it is. I want you to get into the habit of co-regulating. So at times where you're both upset, or just your partner's upset, or you're upset, come together with your partner to co-regulate. Let's say your partner is upset. Instead of analyzing and trying to logically be correct and logically be loving, just try to feel them, hold them, place your arms around them, kiss them on the head, dance with them a bit, be silly, laugh. Break the mold of rigidity in whatever way. Recognize that when you have left a relationship, what do you normally feel? A deep sense of loneliness. And then when you're in a relationship and close to someone, what do you feel? A deep sense of loneliness. So the common factor here is you, and that's your trauma. It's something that I relate to and have had to work through. It's quite terrifying to recognize it when you see it, that no matter what I do, I just somehow feel unseen and lonely and that something's missing. The truth is, there's nothing actually missing. If you dive deep enough into your trauma through meditation, you'll start to unlock the repressed grief, sadness, and rage of having to surgically remove those feeling parts of you in the past. And as you release them and you feel safe sitting with your own hidden emotions that you may think you don't have, because they've become so invisible to you over time, because you're a master of hiding them from yourself. Well, once they release, your body feels 10 tons lighter. And then when you take those little steps closer and closer to your partner, it doesn't feel suffocating. It feels fun. It feels beautiful. But this takes time. Recognize that any feelings that your partner is taking away your autonomy, recognize that when you want to fault pick and criticize them and compare them with other people, you're doing something very unloving as a projection of what happened in your past for how people treated you. And that's not something you want to keep. So in summary, for the avoidant person to break this cycle, it's about finding creative ways that you can sustain every day to take just one little step closer to your partner, a little bit more interest in your partner, a little bit more feeling, physical touching of, thoughtful gestures towards your partner. And it'll feel really alien, really wrong, like you're forcing yourself to change. These thoughts are normal, but it is taking you in the right direction, which is being comfortable with closeness. For the anxiously attached person, you have a script playing in your head that says, I knew I wouldn't be chosen. I always pick emotionally unavailable people. Everybody abandons me. Nobody sees me. I always end up getting betrayed. It's their fault, or it's my fault. A series of guilt, blaming. And for you, it really, really feels like the end of the world, that this person is my only hope for love. For you, you believe love is a very scarce resource, and in a similar way to the avoidant, the key is in recognizing that you have to become the source of your own love, and that there are parts of you that you also surgically removed in your childhood. What you removed was the ability to feel safe in your own body, in your independence, without having to please, without having to overgive. And your practice is to reclaim that. For example, instead of placing so much of your life energy on your partner, what they're doing, are they doing the work? Are they getting closer to me? Are they being thoughtful? Take all that energy off them, because they can feel it. And it's making them worse, and it's making you worse. Put your attention back into yourself. Get a lot more into meditation, physical movement, cold showers, anything that brings your creativity and passion out every single day. Because the more steps you take back, I don't mean to like make the gap huger, I mean quality of steps into yourself, you start to undo your program and beliefs of the past which said, nobody chooses me. And every time you become a little more comfortable in your independence, you prove to your nervous system that they are not the source of my love, and they are not the source of my problems either. And then you finally stop going into these deep cycles of hope, despair, hope, despair. Will it work? Will it not? Is this right? Is it not? You'll feel guilty about not emotionally pouring into your partner, not immediately running to their side when they're down. And in those moments, I need you to be strong in yourself, regulate yourself first and foremost. I'm not saying abandon your partner. I'm saying stop seeking safety through giving to your partner what you actually crave to be given. Because if you're giving from your trauma response, you are setting yourself up for resentment, and you'll make them resentful, because it's not true giving, it's a hope of reciprocation. That last part may sound a bit confusing, because every relationship needs reciprocation. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be reciprocation. I'm saying to find the line between what giving comes from a trauma response and what giving comes from a place of, I feel more regulated, I feel more calm, more stable. If I do this, I won't fall to pieces if they then feel withdrawn. So this journey of both people doing what makes them uncomfortable is guaranteed to create more intimacy, more closeness if it's done with your heart. And it'll be a struggle, but it'll work. If you're more of the avoidant person and that voice comes in your head, they're being needy, identify and catch it as, there's the judgment, I'm being unloving again. And then look at your partner with affection and try to step in and communicate calmly. Hold them. And remember, they are not trying to take my freedom away. Remember that dependence isn't a bad thing. Remember that co-regulation is a beautiful thing. Remember that they're not here to criticize you or shame you or say that you're not good enough. Remember that them asking for closeness is not dangerous, nor is it a sign that you're not good enough. If you're on more of the anxious side, remember that when your partner needs a breather, when they need to step back, it doesn't mean they're abandoning you. When you have those thoughts, see, I knew I'm never good enough, I knew this will never work, remember, okay, my mind is self-sabotaging, and find a way to take those thoughts off the pedestal. Even to take the relationship and the outcome off the pedestal. Because the nature of anxiety means a tight grip on the outcome. You're desperate for a certain outcome, and that desperate energy is hurting your body and it's hurting theirs. So there has to be more presence in this process, more trust. Ultimately, both partners need to remember that if you are experiencing resentment, withdrawals, feelings of being shut down, high anxiety, this is all coming from your unprocessed trauma and your negative thought patterns. You cannot outsource this to your partner. Set aside cases where a partner is actually hitting or truly abusive. That's a different story. But in the scope of normal relationship conflicts, I know that's a broad term, but I think you know what I mean. I want you to take 100% responsibility for your own feelings and just check, how loving am I? How self-regulated am I? Am I comfortable with co-regulation? What makes me uncomfortable? And slowly refine that process so that you're a human being who can be pleasant in closeness, pleasant in independence. You can be safe when someone's disagreeing with you. You can feel safe when someone's giving you constructive feedback. You know how to keep this heart open, how to keep this breath full, how to keep these eyes kind and soft, how to keep this voice warm. These are the signs of healing. And when we're in our trauma responses, we outsource these to our partner and say it's their fault because we're not seeing something within ourselves. Instead, what we try to do is we try to get our unmet childhood needs met through our partner, which is impossible, and it's the cause of untold misery. The avoidant person wants to get his or her need for true intimacy met through their partner, but they're not seeing that something in them keeps shutting down and running away from it. So they have to be willing to dive deep into that. And the anxious person is expecting the avoidant person to meet their feeling of, I was never loved and I'm not enough, which is impossible because nobody can do that but you. And when you demand that of them, you confirm their trauma that, see, I was never good enough as a child. So radical self-responsibility, calm, clear communication about what you're both going through will solve so much of this. If you want more videos from me, please remember to subscribe because there'll be plenty more coming. Lastly, I want you to know that I've helped many men and women with profound healing shifts where they see the exact childhood traumas, where their avoidant personality was created, where their anxious attachment system was created. And it really is a beautiful process because when you release that hidden, repressed grief from your body, there's less explosions, there's less withdrawals, there's less dramatic roller coaster emotions because they don't live in your body anymore. These things happen because they already exist in your body. That's why relationships are a mirror of your inner state. At the moment, there's a wonderful, life-changing program happening called the Unity program. You can use the link below to join. There's also the Peace program that takes you into a similar deep childhood trauma healing. You can see all the details on my website. And if you're someone like me who wants to go beyond just intellectual understanding, beyond just videos, you want to go into your body and find those emotions and release them and create real safety in your body, then these programs are for you. Hope to see you soon.